was going to go through the changes that have been made so far. From the very beginning, I'll refer to pages from the book that I gave you originally. And then if there are any other additional changes later on tonight, just be mindful that I have to go and make all those changes before the...
That's what we were just had it, we just left them where we were.
Oh, where I'll get mine. Okay, well, I'll go get my other one.
All right.
I was ready.
No, I say go. We only have an hour before.
Go. Okay, so page 7. Under City Council, we added an account for HSA contribution at $35,000.
$30,000?
35.
35. Good thing I asked, because I wrote down 30.
What was that under?
I'm just going to write
That was under City Council Department.
I'll go back later.
It's a new account, so it's a brand new line. HSA contribution, $35,000.
Did anybody do any research on the
Yes, I think that Kim has done research on that. You'd probably have to speak with her about that. I don't know the particulars on that. I did not put in the request for a finance department to increase because that was not the right time for me to ask for that, so that's not included in the new budget. Also on page 10, if you go to page 10.
Heather, it reverts back to
What
the original book said. And
yes.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to have to take action.
HSA.
Didn't we take action?
You'll take action on the full budget, yes.
Under council.
You can do it either way.
We made a motion to add that.
You can do it either way, I would assume.
So we remove it.
So do you want to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion to revert the finance department back to their original proposal.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion in 2 seconds, but actually I think I heard Hawkins first. He won. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, page 10. We changed the IT department from was it 5248 for the director and 100% out of general fund for the technology specialist is now changed to 20% from wastewater and 80% from the general fund. So that adds an additional $28,360 to the IT department.
So where did,
No, excuse me, that adds $23,500, which brings the performance increase pool account to $28,360 under the IT department.
28,360 is what it should be?
Yes.
Okay.
From 4,000
Yes,
to 28,000?
to $28,360.
And that's to reflect changes in the percentages of how they're being paid?
Yes.
80-20.
Yes.
Instead of 100%.
Same dollar amounts totals. It's
Okay.
just changing the percentages.
And this, so when you calculate the performance increase pool, do those dollars include the added taxes and whatnot that'll come out of payroll?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the cleanest way to do it?
Yes, just put it on the one line. Yeah, and then we'll move it where we need to.
Gotcha.
All right, keep moving.
Page 11, under fire merit, we lowered the legal services from $30,000 to $10,000.
And I met with the Fire Merit Commission last week and explained them to them, and everything's fine.
Good, thanks.
Page 13 is a total for the general fund. I have the new total. Everybody ready?
Yep.
$34,278,705. Okay. Next change on page 33.
Heather,
Yes.
so what does that make the revenue minus the expense?
I got it, right?
It was 54,817,
Right now it's 41,348.
41,348.
Not much wiggle room.
And I tried to make it a little bit bigger.
Excuse me.
So we can take this one out.
You can go ahead and replace this one.
Yeah, it'd be like me, you put it in there, and then you're like, which one was the right one?
Well, they're dated.
Oh, well.
Okay, so on page 33, I added a line on the very top where it says no department, where it's a transfer out for public arts. I added another line for a transfer out for the homeless fund. That's that new fund that you all are establishing for $50,000. Page 34, under Department 301, General Administration and Unallocated for NVH, increase the Oak Park account to $40,000, so that's a total of $50,000 for Oak Park maintenance.
That's under 301,
Yes.
you raised by 25?
No, raised it by 15,
So how does that get us to 50?
because there's 10 already in the NVH fund,
Okay.
in a different fund, yes.
It was on the different page.
Yes. And then on page 35 is a new total for edit. Is $2,329,892.
$2,239,892?
$2,329,892.
329. Yep.
Yeah, I had it written down, I just had
But
it.
this is $65, $5,000
Yes.
difference, correct?
Yes.
Which would make that 355,108 the difference in revenue and expense. What's the-
No, it would be at the 270,108.
271.
The original, so the forest on the new sheet that I just gave you, the forest right-hand corner is what you have changed.
271.
The second to the far right is what the original proposed budget was.
Okay. I'm looking at page 35. Where it says total appropriations, and if you go to the next to the far right column where it was 2264,892, you see that? I made that 2,329,892,
Yes,
and then if you go two spaces down,
right.
what does that 335,108 need to be?
This number at the very bottom on your new sheet.
Can you quote it?
Yes, 270,108.
Hold on. Thank you.
And there you go. That's all the changes I had.
Well, beyond that, unless anybody else has anything, since we've got so much time left, there are some other changes that some of us have talked about. I talked with Heather about some potential changes to include at least some more manpower in the fire department for next year. I came in and talked with Heather about the possibility of adding 3 firefighters for last year to the budget. I looked through the budget, made some changes I thought could get us there. I came in and talked to Heather about what those changes looked like. Heather pointed out very correctly, I think, that adding 3 into the budget for next year was probably too tight of a order to really put forward and feel comfortable and leave us in a good spot. It was budgeting almost every dollar we had in the income taxes, and she wasn't very comfortable with that, and I agree with her. That was just probably not in our best interest, even though the goal that we want to get to long-term is in that direction. So went back and looked at some numbers again, talked with Joe Hurt, who's in the audience, saying, how can we do something to move the needle in the right direction? Because we all know what the end goal number is for the fire department. How do we keep moving in that direction rather than just stay stagnant for a year? And I think maybe if there's support on the council, and I hope there is, we could make some minor changes and maybe squeeze out 2 more for next year.
One quick question.
Sure.
You said you talked to Joe, which I understand that,
Mhm.
but did you talk to the chief?
I
Or
have-
talk to Eric or any of them?
I have not, no.
Okay.
This was all done on a tight turnaround, and just trying to find where we can get some funds before today's deadline. It's kind of tough. But if we're open to it, I'd like to go through some changes that I think we could make to comfortably add 2 into the budget for next year. And they're minor changes. If we look at vehicle maintenance as a line item for a vehicle, $25,000, and I'm sorry, I don't have the page number.
If we make changes, can we make changes on the ordinance so it's easier for me to change? So that would be on page 8 if you have the ordinance for the meeting.
The ordinances are in your packet.
Oh, I was going to say, page 8, you got it.
Because this is where I'll make the changes tonight.
Okay.
Well, it has to be voted on to make the changes.
Well, yeah.
Pencil them.
Yes.
Pencil them.
Penciling, yes.
Page 829 is vehicle maintenance. And about 3 from the bottom, there's $25,000 for vehicles. And I would propose to take that and move that $25,000 into a line item from edit. Doing so because traditionally the council has been open to one-time purchases from edit,
Head.
especially for vehicles. Lisa's drove that home enough that I thought that was a safe change. That's $25,000, and then all of the other changes that I wanted to propose were out of the council's budget, which on the ordinance is page 6 of 29. And there are several items here, starting from the bottom. There's $4,000 for landmark.
Yeah, but we're going to put that, that's
I'll go through it.
Okay.
I know these are things we have that we're committed to. We got to do these things. But landmarks, JNLA for 6. Go 2 up, 50,000 out of special projects, and then there was one more.
Wait a minute, what was this? What? Oh, the special projects. Gotcha.
Special projects. Main Street. Is farther up the page for 35, and concerts in the park for 10, just above that. If we take those items and move those under the council and edit, that brings a total transfer with the vehicle maintenance in the council budget of $130,000. It's a transfer from the general fund to the edit funds, which are currently budgeted at $270,000 below our projected income.
You said a total of 130, right? That's what I got?
Yes.
Okay.
What page is edit on?
Edit starts on page 28. So it would be on page 28 under council. And then I'd have to make a new department for vehicle maintenance.
I'll let you finish penciling that one. I have one more change.
Vehicle maintenance is their council doing?
105.
Under any certain line item?
They'll have the same account numbers, just under the edit fund.
Okay, okay.
And then the last change, I mentioned that gets us to $130,000. For two employees, Mr. Hurt was estimating about $80,000 apiece. Ms. Metcalf was estimating $100,000 apiece. I tend to lean towards Ms. Metcalf because she's a numbers guy person. No offense, Joe.
Well, is this including uniforms and all that?
It was
Air packs?
getting everybody
Okay.
where they needed to be as far as I understood.
Huh?
I'd say the 100 would
The
include.
100, yeah. That leaves us a little short. I was going to propose on page 4, if we went to the fire department and moved their overtime budget from 560 back to 500, that would get us to 190.
The 500,000?
Yes. And that's not completely arbitrary. We have looked, and of course I can't find my forms, but we have looked at, since we've brought on the 6 new firefighters in this year's budget in July, those guys have just came online at the end of, or the beginning of last month rather, and we are seeing a tremendous decrease in the amount of days that we're having overtime in the budget for the fire department. Because they're staffed, 4 on an engine right now, their minimum staffing allows, even with people who are off sick, not to have days without any overtime at all, which I think is going to curb what we see going out in that overtime line item. Add 2 more next year, and that curbs it even more. 2 more is not going to get us where we need to be to add that extra apparatus. So these guys are running on extra on the engine rather than 3 on the engine. We'll have 4 running on engines, and we'll be able to accommodate more people being off, even people calling in sick. I think currently it takes a 3rd person, Joe, is that right, to call in sick to trigger overtime?
Just now with the additional staffing. Yeah, before, anytime one person were to be injured or sick, it automatically calls an overtime shift.
Right.
But with these 6, we've added
2 to each shift, so you've got to have 2 plus 1 more off to trigger that need for overtime dollars. Now the overtime budget for the year is coming in close, but now that these guys are extra online, it seems that we're starting to see a trend of that tapering off, and then next year it would.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you, but without talking to the chief, there is a reason why he requested $560,000 in his OT.
Chief expressed that he thinks he could make it with 500,000.
Oh, so you did talk to the
I
chief?
didn't speak to him, but I took whoever told me that to their word of it.
Okay. I just don't want to disrespect the chief.
No, and I don't either, and I should have called him. We just got short on time, and that's at my fault. I should have taken time to do that. You're right.
I have
Well-
one question, sir.
Uh-huh.
Do you all feel comfortable still with your workers' comp and your health insurance and what it is?
That's where I think some of the difference between the 80 and 100,000 is,
You think that?
that would need to increase some for,
Yeah, because I was on a conference call with Vicki on that. Anytime we bring on public safety, so we need to adjust for that.
And
For
I
it to be
thought,
safe and sorry.
and I agree, and I thought maybe something like that might come up. I don't know if the council feels like we could take another 10 or 15,000. How much do you think you would need to increase those?
I don't know, I really need to get with Jerry, because we were pretty well, as far as property and casualty and workers' comp, we were right to the penny almost.
Really? And if we needed another $10,000 or $15,000 in those line items, I would propose to take it out of the 40 that's still unbudgeted. Or
I think
moves.
that if we budget an extra 10 to 15, that we can move it between the two if we needed to.
There you go.
Or the other thing you can do
What-
is leave it as is, and then always see how it works up about this time next year. If you'll need to do an additional, you'll have a better idea.
That's true also.
And keep in mind, we've got 2.2 that for the lift stations.
1.250 for
Yes.
Cane Run.
I got 2.2.
That was,
There's some
that
other
was
things
wastewater's
though
taking
that,
care, you guys are doing half, wastewater's doing the other half, so it is 2.2, but you're only doing half of that.
yeah, but we also got some other things we're committed to.
There's a
It
might be an
$200,000 grant, or
Yes.
local, that needs a local match if that's approved.
How much you looking for, 10 or 15?
Yeah.
So on the 457 match, as of 6:30, we matched 60,000. If that's half, we're gonna hit about 120. We have a budget last year, the amended budget for 133, and we put it at 140 this year. Don't look like we're gonna hit even 130 this year, but we bumped it up 10. Maybe somebody can, there might be more people contributing, but there's 10,000 right there that we didn't spend.
I'm fairly confident we could come up with 10,000 if we got down the road and saw that we were going to need it in those items, in those property and.
That's okay. I want y'all to know that I paid the final payment, well, it's not on this one, but it'll be on, no, it's not.
It is on this one, yeah.
And we're about 15,000 short again.
Okay.
Even though we had just done it, something else came in.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna have to transfer some money from the insurance claim line item up, which we can do.
Okay.
But I'm getting a lot of claims now in for that too, because there's been some lawsuits and stuff. So I just wanna give y'all a
Well,
heads up that it's gonna be.
And remember, our audit came in a whole lot higher than what we anticipated too, remember? We had to add,
Yeah.
What are you speaking of? I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
why did you have to move money?
We're going to have to, because what happens when a new vehicle is purchased, we have a set, amount that we get at the beginning of the year. When either a new vehicle or something is purchased, that increases our premium, so then I get another
For the,
property and casualty insurance.
that's what you said we're 10 to 15 short?
Yeah. And then the property and casualty claims, and you all gotta remember, this is just from June, we've gotten more and more since then. We're gonna be
well, we got
right at,
on the claims even tonight,
yeah, I mean, there's,
because I have that marked, yeah.
yeah, we've got another one that just came in too, so I'm just letting you all know it's a little tight, so I'm not saying, I'm just letting you all know that next year you may need to do an additional for those two. Because Jerry hasn't come in with the renewal yet.
Mm-mm.
Gotcha.
And another, if we're looking for, it doesn't look like police is nearly utilizing the 457 match fire as that we're budgeting.
What page are you on? Just
30, in the booklet, as you're looking at
On the
police,
book.
457, match 2018 activity, 60,000, 2019 budget at 130, 2019 activity, 33,000, we're potentially over budget, $60,000.
oh, page 30 on this one.
3.
3. In the book,
In your book.
I'm sorry.
under
Sorry.
police and fire.
I mean, so there's ways there. I mean, that number's a shot in the dark.
There's areas
It's an
like
estimate,
that.
and that
Right.
one, well, if the trend continues like that, we're money to be moved if we need to, or.
Yeah.
Are you looking at fires 457?
No, I was looking at police on that one. I
Okay.
looked at fires, and it's tracking a lot closer
Yes.
to the budgeted number. The police is,
This
There.
is
I'm gonna let Nathan speak, he's been having his hand up.
I just got a few questions. Why 2? We have 3 ABC crew. How will 2 be used?
It would put one of
On
those
the
shifts
angle.
lopsided. I mean, it would.
Then why not 3? Why don't we go 3?
okay.
I mean, if there's a need for this,
Right.
and we all agree to go to the budget and find the money,
But
let's
this
find the
is-
money.
This is what
I
was
would
said.
much rather spend money on safety or garbage pickup or services than have all this giveaway money. And we're giving away tons of money.
Right.
Let's go back and find the money, and if they need 3, get them 3.
So how much more we have to find?
100,000.
Another 100.
I mean, I do it, to me, do it right or don't do it. I
And
don't
that's-
see why we would do that. Let me keep going, I got a couple more comments. After Joe made the comment about his paycheck, River State. We are funding, underwriting parks like what we know, like crazy. Let's look at shifting some of those dollars, and we're paying a guy, benefits and all, 75 plus a year, when you count the package, to raise the money. Let's say, look, we got to cut you back, raise the money. I mean, we got a great product. We can raise the money if he's got to do it or don't have it.
Instead of gaming going to River Stage, gaming can go for public service.
You're tracking with me. The other thing is, I'm not supportive of trying to continuing to go down the road of, and we tried to tried real hard to keep our finger in the dike of switching payroll to our edit, Lloyd, whatever. We've done some of it. We try to get back, and I'm still against that. But if we can find, like I see in here, I'm looking under fire now, because I do think they should have a little bit of skin in the game, if possible. The chief will scream, probably. It's unfortunate he's not aware of this. I do think the tail's wagging the dog on this. I guarantee if the county, if the folks that are operating the jail didn't go to Scotty or the sheriff and they went around at the council about stuff, they'd be not real happy. They'd want to know. So that's the thing. But from the standpoint of contractual services for the fire, there's $78,000 there. Shift that to Lloyd and pull that 78 and use that for another fire.
And that's originally what was going to be proposed. But do we want to be in a position where we're budgeting every Lloyd dollar and every edit dollar? Period?
Nathan's opinion, and that with $1.38 at White Castle will get you a cup of coffee. The Lloyd's going up. Lloyd will go up unless the county does away with it or something major. So our general fund is not really going up. It's going up to keep pace because we're capped by the levy. So that's not going to grow our forces, our safety forces. The only way we can do that is through Lloyd and through the payroll taxes. And if we're going to do this, let's target some things that can be done. I say even training, put that in Lloyd. And then if tough decisions have to be made, you don't have to even talk about laying somebody off because it's not dealing with those dollars. You can talk about, well, maybe we can scale back a little bit on our training, or maybe a little bit on our content. That's a whole lot easier to scale back than talk about scaling the person. So I'm not ready to be quiet, but I say if we're going to do it, if there's the need, again, I'm not a fireman, never been a fireman.
How can you skip?
Two doesn't do it. It helps two. It helps 2 shifts, but it doesn't do it if we feel like it needs to be done. Then let's just do it, and let's make some harder decisions.
You can't scale back on training if you're having new hires because you got to train them. Or am I wrong?
I'm saying shift that. Shift
it to
find
Lloyd.
other money.
Gotcha.
But there's a whole lot of things we can shift to Lloyd or edit that's not payroll related. And I would be supportive if we shift some of those costs, rather than take some from that. And again, I'm still an advocate for saying we've talked for a long time about how I'll pick on River Stage, because that's our big gym. I mean, it's a nice event, great, but it just keeps going up. It will sell itself with funders. So let's just put the challenge out to our marketing person that's raising money and say, now you got to raise, instead of us writing you a check for River Stage, we write them a check for $149,000. Say we're on 100 of it, we're taking away. You raise 100 more. I mean, fundraisers. That's what you gotta do.
Makes sense. I mean,
that's just my comments, and then I will say, if we try to put this where we're putting any of it in, where we're putting other things in jeopardy, or we're putting payroll of some kind in edit, I won't support that. But if we find it elsewhere and ship other stuff, I will support it. But if we do 3, I won't support 2. I think 2 is not.
I think when Matt put his numbers together, he was conscious of not paying salaries out of edit, because we knew that wouldn't be.
Yeah, but I think now we're talking about the gaming.
Oh, if I'm hearing Nathan correctly on what he's saying, is he wants 3 or none, and $100,000 per firefighter is your estimate. I mean, if you want to, Nathan, if you want to do what you were saying with the River Stage, but instead of cutting it 100, if you wanted to cut it 50 or even 40, there's $60,000 to be cut from the 457. It's heavily padded. It's not like that's going to increase dramatically on the police side. I don't see that doubling. They know that benefit's there. Me talking about it's not going to make them go sign up for it. And you do 50 out of theirs, and then 10 out of the fire, which I still think is a reasonable number, and then you do that, there's your other firefighter.
We don't support the River Stage in the general fund. There's no money there to transfer.
Comes out of it.
No, what I think I'm hearing is that
Gaming.
shift 100 or 50 or whatever it is that you want to take from River Stage, from general fund, put it in gaming. So that frees up general fund money.
Say that again.
You would have to shift some of your general fund expenditures to gaming, because the gaming money is not going to the Parks River Stage fund. It would go to support some of the general fund.
I think he's saying put a transfer outline from gaming into the general fund.
Oh, no, you can't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Or are you saying,
I think I was saying.
So you've been
That's
sleeping
very
since
clear
we-
about that.
or are you saying whatever general fund is whatever's listed under the general fund for training, for example, we can take those training dollars and put them in edit to free up those general fund dollars?
If it's for
Is
the
that an
fire,
option?
yes, except if it's for the fire, which I believe that's what we're talking about, I would prefer not to take it out of edit, because that's, frankly, the council's money to be able to spread across the city. The safety Lloyd
Oh, okay.
is only for police and fire. And so I say,
And you can take 100% of the training budget from the police and fire and move it all to VoIP, and there's your $100,000. And that was going to be the proposal, but that budget's every dollar out of VoIP. And I mean, I just think that's
I
not.
said I wasn't going to talk anymore. I'm sorry.
I love that
the
you're
concern-
advocating for the fire department, though. That's nice.
Contrary to what people think, I like the fire department. It's just got to be done
Well, here, I think
cerebrally.
and I like the direction this conversation is going, because now it seems as if we're talking about maybe 3 instead of 2, but 2, it's not that we didn't, Matt did this, and I applaud him for his efforts, because he really kind of took the lead on this, and there could have been a situation in which way too many cooks were in the kitchen. So I'm glad that he took the lead on this and tried to figure this out. But for me, and this kind of goes with the same thing, Nathan, yet 3 is better, but my goal is to get another apparatus soon, and I don't know what, a year or 2, so you got to get 6 more. So by getting 2 now, we don't have to ask for 6 at one time.
Sure.
So it was just taking a smaller chunk out of that and getting it going in the right direction to where we'll be able to manage that instead of all at one time, like, okay, now because it's something else that needs to be brought up, when we do get that other apparatus, that means we'll have to put more money back into the overtime budget because now they're going to be back to minimum staff.
Right.
So that's going to have to go up too. So this was an attempt, I hope I'm not misrepresenting, but this was an attempt by Matt and me and Scott, everybody that has been involved, to just kind of start moving in that direction. I don't want to really see all of Lowit be, that's it. We have nothing left. But if that is the only way we can get consensus, because this affects my district more than anybody else, and in fact, I don't want to tell you this like cathartic moment that I had, but this past week, we were coming south on 62 and we were waiting for a train, and there was a fire engine on the other side waiting for the same train. And I thought, where are they trying to go? And it really did, like, it's been like kind of a philosophy we've been talking, like kind of philosophically, and that one really kind of hit. And I said to my wife, I was like, this is a situation that has to be, we got to push for this. So I'll do that. We'll go to 3 if that's the only way we can do it. But
what
2 was just moving the ball.
What about?
2 was moving the ball.
I won't vote for 2. I'll vote for 3 if we do the other. And the thing I said I want to say, I'd be really concerned about dropping the overtime that much. Only because we all know, we've all seen it. The overtime is what it is, and if there's not a lot of really good management of that, and sometimes the hands are tied, I get all that, we're going to have to pay that no matter what. And so I would rather have some money in there rather than lowballing it and then knowing, well, at the end of the year we got to add to it, or the next council will have to add to it. So that's just
I appreciate that comment because I brought that up to when we were talking about it, and that number that we landed on 60 was much lower than they anticipated, and when they spoke to their chief about that, and he was, like I said, this was all still working on all the way up into this meeting, so we did drop the ball on not calling the chief to make sure all that was taken care of. But that number, Matt had some documents we had on that. It's tracking right. It hasn't been proven with certainty, and I explained the exact same that you just did. Overtime is it's the chief's priority, and prerogative can affect that number greatly.
It's going to be paid.
And I said the exact same thing. At the end of the day, they come to you, it's got to be paid. It's not.
And I probably in the last 12 years, every year we've had to add to the every year.
And I said the exact same thing. So don't think that was not considered, because everything you said in that statement was said in the meeting that I had today. And their number of what has been, and like Scott said, you're going to realize that cost back when you get that station operational, fully staffed. But I even said we should cut more out of that, and Matt said no, and they said even more. So that number was much higher, and that wasn't a compromise. It's just what Matt did. To be honest with you,
I'm not going to be on council next year. But having my nose to the budget these 8 years and go through the claims, I'm just going to say this and be devil's advocate. It seems like there's support there for 2. I understand what you're saying, but I would say put a pin in that 3rd one, because I'm telling you all, y'all can disagree all you want. These are estimated revenues, number 1. Number 2, I'm telling you, we're talking with the state. I think our circuit breaker's going to come back. You're spending every penny, basically. And then I say it every year till I'm blue in the face, until we have circuit breakers and our certified AV, you'd rather be safe than sorry. So if they're 2, the doable, even I feel good for that, but that 3rd one, you're tipping the scale to a very dangerous situation. With city services are going on the rise, because I'm telling you, with talking with vehicle maintenance and talking with street department, they got a skeleton budget. They didn't even get in their budget this year what they needed. With city services, all city services are going to be taxed. We've got a 510 home subdivision that's getting ready to go into phase 2. You got to factor everything in. I'm not saying that the fire department does not need this these firefighters, we most certainly do, but we cannot put the city at risk and the other city services. Because if people's garbage can't get picked up, we got the house, but if you're safe, after your certified AV and after your circuit breakers, hire that third one. But be safe and sorry, guys. I'll shut up right now.
Heather,
And we talked about it.
if I can cut $100,000 out of the general, and would you be comfortable with that? If I could find $100,000 that you would be comfortable saying that the number's right? I know it's slim as it is, but just that 457B came up with 50,000. 457 matching the police is, I mean, I'm comfortable cutting at 50,000. I still think we're relatively safe.
Okay.
We're only hiring 2 new police officers, so literally by that one move in general, Nathan wants 3, I support 3. If we can, that's half of one firefighter, one estimate that I'm very comfortable making. I feel if I did that quick, I think I could find 50,000 more and get 3 firefighters hired, and then we have half the crew.
The other,
With the circuit breakers and all that, are you comfortable if I could?
If you can cut it from the current budget, yes.
I'll start working out.
What about the training, $20,000 for fire training?
I'd hate to cut training.
No, not cutting,
Shift it.
moving it to Lloyd.
I'm just trying to be a deal maker in this. I've heard people say they don't want to spend Lloyd either, but
if you look, so if you go back to where you were talking about the 457, and
match.
pick police or fire, which one?
Police has more
Police.
overall package.
I wouldn't change fires.
I was going to say that I looked at the fire a second ago. It looks like they're,
Yeah,
if this
police-
is based
police
on
is-
through June 30th, they're pretty spot on, at 45% of their budget for the year.
Police is,
And the fire budget for 2019 is actually
It reflects that,
$17,000
yes.
less than last year. So I don't know if we can really
well, I was
cut
talking
much
about
out of
police,
that.
if you look at the police.
The police, yeah, that seems to be inflated. That looks like an easy number to cut.
The
other-
it's great, if you cut that 50,000, it raises the 2018 activity about $20,000 by cutting 50,000.
Yeah, and I'd be comfortable with that.
If I would have known we were having this conversation tonight, I would have helped find the money, but I was not clued in. So if you can find it, I'm with you. I think we need to that's part of our job.
well,
Keep in
let's,
mind, we have
well,
public hearing tonight.
let's do that out of the police then, the 50,000, and then go to the fire department, because, like Nathan said, I don't disagree. They get put a little skin in the game, go to that training budget and move that to Lloyd.
Also 50,000?
Yep,
22, you got it covered. So what's that leave us in Lloyd?
less than 60,000.
Because they already have 33,000 in Lloyd for training. The fire department does.
That's the
That'd be
revenue
55.
versus projected revenue, projected expenses.
Right.
There's still a balance in there. But, and I assume that will go up. But if not, at some point, our department heads and chiefs, they have to manage. We're getting to that point.
I just texted
frankly.
the chief, I said, do you support 3 firefighters? I mean, or just so open transparency. Yes, I support more firefighters, but I don't want to come at cost of another department getting their needs. So this is exactly what you said. I'm not trying to read people's text messages, but that is his answer to that question. And what you're saying, Matt, is transferring that out and making the fire department
Yeah.
manage their training.
And we realize that we put it in there, the mayor or the chief may not do it. Just because we put in, they're the ones that hire, we don't hire. Union doesn't hire.
Yeah.
We get it, but
Well, yeah, they don't have to hire them, I guess.
they don't have to. I mean, if
You're-
if they feel like it's not appropriate, or they're gonna get a lot of heat from other departments, they can make that call.
But we are
We're
I'm
making it
confident
possible.
the chief's
We're making it
gonna
possible.
hire.
very rarely, I mean,
Yeah,
I shouldn't
no, I know,
say.
I hear you.
Rarely do we have a union advocating for, well, I was leaning on into that, but very rarely do you hear about more bodies, you hear about money. And trying to save money on overtime, so I think the goal is here to get more firefighters out, and the house out in District 6.
So we're going to, if we're looking you want me to look in the book or on the ordinance?
On the ordinance.
Sorry, it's in the book.
Page 3 is fire, or police.
Page 3, we're looking about the 6th line down,
Yep.
3, 6, yep. 457 match, we're gonna cut that to $80,000.
You taking how much?
50.
50.
457, page 3.
I got it.
And we're moving that to,
It's not a move, that was just a cut.
That's just a cut.
And then page 4 is,
Page 4, third from the bottom is training, 52,000, and we're gonna move that to edit.
low it.
I'm sorry, yes. That one,
That one.
public safety income tax.
Boy.
Lloyd.
Lloyd Lewitt, native Florida.
That brings us to $292,000 for, do you want the other 8,000 out of the revenue to make it an even 300?
I'm okay with 280. You said 280?
292.
292.
Okay.
And I know that some of this is going to have to do with some equipment and different things. But for budget purposes, I'd like to have it all budgeted in the fire salary line.
Okay.
And then we're going to need to move some to, your pension line and your Social Security line. And then we'll have to probably move some, so that transfer we'll have figured out, and that you'll do that come next year. But that's too much for me to figure out right now before this
understand.
public hearing tonight.
And will you have enough time to make your changes?
I will try.
So,
Probably not in 10 minutes, but I can take some time in
I can handle the
between.
9 and 10 for you if you need me to.
Okay.
now, another thing, I just want to throw this out there, and I don't want to ask for too much, but, there's a theory that we've kind of held to in the last couple of times that we've done this. Do we want to appropriate money now to get these people hired so they're online January 1? And when I came in here, I thought, $55,000, $60,000 would do it for two. So, I mean, we have revenues for this year's budget that aren't being spent. I mean, we have the capacity to do it. I think we're right about $400,000 in unspent revenue.
Yes.
So are we interested in?
that would have to be another.
That
Don't
would
make
be
the
an additional
mistake we made that
appropriation.
one time, talk to the chief, because remember, I think it was police where we did that, and,
Well, we don't have to
They-
finalize that.
yeah, but.
But-
No, but I would need to have an ordinance. Do you want to have an ordinance to you to
Well,
do that?
I just wanted to put it out there before we voted, because I didn't want anybody to feel like they were duped into it. Before we voted to add it to next year's budget, I wanted to throw it out there. Hey,
But that doesn't have to be decided.
we don't have to do that.
Heather, that question for you, so we were basically not quite 100,000 for firemen. If we do hire them this year, and so that equipment cost is on this year, then that means that number is lower next year?
No, no.
So next year we weren't factoring in there a new equipment for next year in that 100,000 apiece for the firemen?
I'd have to check with the chief on all of that, so.
I thought it included equipment.
I think it does, yeah, I think that's, yeah. Let me go back, yes. It
Okay, so then
includes
that means
all
next year,
all
we
soft
really
costs, all
aren't
that stuff.
spending 292, we're spending whatever the equipment cost is.
Right, that's what I'm saying, it might need to be shifted to a different account, yes.
All right. Another question.
Go right ahead.
Got time? 10 minutes. Is there any will to reduce the transfer to parks? If nothing else, send a message that says, look, we want more fundraising, and there's gotta be a limit. And
As you go,
if it's no, okay, but I'm willing to do something if there's 4 other people that are too.
I'm kind of leaning towards that, because we've got the Envision Center coming on board. We've got that another park coming on board. The mayor just announced another park out there at Golfview Estates. I think we hired an employee. He needs to do his due diligence, and that money might have to go to the Envision Center or go to the new park or something. It's just
So
a
do you
thought.
want to have it budgeted still, but maybe with a caveat on, we're only going to transfer this much, we're going to give you this much you're going to have to work on, so in case.
I would rather do it the other way around. We
Okay.
know the money, in our mind, I'll say gaming,
Mhm.
right? We anticipate the revenue coming in.
Yes,
So we don't, instead of 149,000 appropriating transfer over, is that the dollar amount?
yes.
Maybe we transfer over 100 and cut out 49. What the understanding is, if they don't raise it, they gotta have it for whatever reason, then they can come to the next year's council and say, hey, we need 49 more. Then they gotta ask for it. Or if we put it in, they don't have to ask for it. Even though we kind of want them we put that out there, like she said, they don't have to ask for it. Once it's appropriated, it's out of our hands. So that would be my way of thinking.
Gaming
We
is
think the
on
money
page
will be
20.
there in the account, in the gaming. If they don't spend it, you can use it for something else.
That won't hurt the parks levy.
Has nothing to do with park levy.
Yeah, they're spending every bit of their levy, and then we're giving them more. That's what this is, giving them more.
We don't have legal here, but we need to cover ourselves with some motions.
Do
you want me to go through them?
Will to do that or no?
I have it written down.
I think it makes sense.
Well, you're talking about,
We're hiring firefighters, we changed there, and we made some significant change to the budget. I think we need a motion to accept those changes, and
Before we talk about gaming and parks, I want to make a motion for the proposed budget to reflect the changes in the general fund.
For the
edit
3 new
fund,
firefighters?
And the LOIT funds.
Do you want me to go through it all, or you got it all?
Repeat it.
Okay.
How you.
I have on page 8, vehicle maintenance, vehicles going to edit of 25,000.
Yes.
I have on page 6 for the council, going to edit is 105,000 for all those accounts. I have on page 4, fire is lowering their overtime by 60,000. I also have training for fire on page 4 to transfer to LOIT of the 52,000. I have on page 3 to lower the police's 457 by 50,000. So that's a total of 292,000. That's going to increase on fire salary lines.
That's my motion.
do I have a second? I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Question?
The vehicle, 25,000, is there any, does it make sense, instead of having it come from edit, to have that come from gaming? If we're going to drop gaming by 49, then the gaming is paying for the truck, and then that leaves the money in edit.
But then the money's not there in gaming when you said they're going to come back and ask for it.
And then
Because they're going to come back
and then
ask
they got to manage.
is that, practically speaking, because whether it comes out one or the other, could they keep, whoever would come for the money we're trying to save and edit, can they easily come?
Yeah, the council basically has both pots. So it's, edit and gaming that we could choose to spend.
Edit is not a fixed dollar amount, but gaming is a fixed dollar amount based on the census. So when the new census comes out, then we'll have a new dollar for gaming. But other than that, it's exactly the same revenue for 10 years.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to muddy it. It's not that much of a big deal. We can call the question.
And I want to clarify too, we said we were cutting something out of police budget. We're not cutting, this is money that's put in a fund to match a 457 match.
Right.
So
You're just not
police is
appropriating.
losing no benefit. If that comes in high, we're going to have to reappropriate the money based on a contractual obligation. There's no cuts to the police department.
Right.
No.
You're lowering the,
I know how that
yes.
works.
Okay, we're close on time, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Cover
Now,
ourselves
River Stage,
legally.
quickly.
I would,
Discuss.
for discussion, I would just make a motion to reduce the amount being transferred from gaming. It was $149,000. Reduce that to $100,000. That's my motion.
Okay.
With the understanding that we need to communicate with the administration that we would like them to try to raise that additional $49,000 if we're going to do everything we're doing.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further questions, discussion? For
River
gaming,
Stage.
you're reducing,
What's the money?
River Stage. It's coming out, or the transfer out is on page 20, and it goes into the River Stage fund. It's the part of their revenue. They also get city partner donations.
Yes,
The revenue is not on this page, but
it's in the book.
oh, yes, in the book, in the very
In
front.
the book, if you go to the front, it's 2 of 6.
Right, yeah.
And while you're looking at that, part of that has to do with the statement that was made by one of the band members that said, we pay very well. And the encouragement was, let's negotiate a little bit tighter on the contracts.
Is that what we're doing by making this move?
We're
Coming out of contractual?
no, it's coming, it's reducing the transfer over. So basically, it gives parks $49,000 less in their budget to operate the River Stage.
Not in their budget, but in the cash that gets
In the cash
transferred
that
over
gets
in there.
used for it.
So they have to make up the revenue in other ways.
And we pay a fundraiser, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
Or come for additional appropriation?
Correct.
Okay, so I got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,
Aye.
motion carries. Anything else?
I just got one. I was on the website today, DLGF, and Clark County is 1 in 3 that do not have their certified net values for their circuit breakers. 1 in 3.
The net AVs aren't
Their
certified
net
yet.
AVs aren't certified. They didn't send them up till August. They were late sending them in.
We're going to have to correct the WIP because that's so important for our budget. Yeah.
Second.
So moved. We're going to take a brief break.